These are the materials you need. So your brow band. I like to use 12-pound fishing line for stringing the beads. These are surgical needle pullers. They've got a tungsten, I think is right, tip grip, which comes in really handy. And these are Glover's needles. I've got a bunch here. You can see they're pretty inexpensive, but they do break every once in a while. So if you're using them a lot like I do, it's nice to have a couple. But for just one project, you probably only need one. And then finally, the leather thread to secure the beads in place. This is black, which works well on dark browns and black bridles, but if you use the brow bands, but if you use something lighter, it also comes in different colors. You can see that I have already strung my beads. I've got these emerald pearls with these gold rondelles with clear crystals in them, and I string them on the fishing line. I hold them together with just a little piece of scotch tape so they don't slide off. And the important thing is here is that you use 2 lengths of the fishing line, and you'll want it to extend a little bit further than your brow band. And when your beads lay in your brow band, you'll want them to lay from end to end with just a little gap on the end. That's because when you secure them in place, you'll be placing string in between some of the beads, and so it'll be a little bit expanded by the time you're done. So you'll see here that I've got my 2 lengths of the fishing lines that I've got the beads spread on. I've started with one at a time in the needle. And what I'm going to do is go right through the empty channel and come out right here at the top, which is between the padding and the leather of the brow band. So depending on the manufacturer, it can be harder or a little bit easier, but it's always not too bad to just line it up quite right, and you'll see it comes out right through the middle there. Oops, I lost my fishing line here. That's no big deal. And you pull it through. You've got one through, and the next one you'll pull through. You can see these threads here, maybe one thread over. You'll line it up and pull the next one through. Ta-da! Great. And so now you'll do just a little baste knot to keep it in place while you're securing. This is in case if you do like I do and you are learning at first how many beads you need to fill it up. You may end up having to take this off to restring beads to add or subtract, so it's good not to tighten it too much. I just start with a baste knot of maybe 1 or 2, so it's not moving anywhere. You'll see I've now got my little baste knot with my beads at both sides, so they're in there, but they're obviously not secured into the brow band. To do that, we are going to take our leather line and go up and down in between each bead using the same technique. Not each bead, you can do it maybe every 2 or 3 beads apart using the same technique we did for the basting line, which is to go in between the leather and the padding. You'll need about an arm's length of this black leather line just to be sure that you've got enough, because remember we're going to be going up and down through the beads, so it'll kind of double over a couple times, so you'll want to make sure that you've got plenty. You'll start by tying a knot at the end of your leather line, enough so it can't slip through as you're sewing. I usually do it, 3 times is plenty sufficient. Do it 2 just for now because we're showing you for example. So I like to start on the opposite end that I've done my fishing line. So you can see I've done the fishing line on the top here. I'll start on the opposite end, on the bottom of the brow band. And the same technique. This time, instead of starting in the center, we're starting at the end, coming up into the center. Sometimes you gotta snap your needle into your needle pullers. Pull it through. Go in between the bead and the spacer once you've got them pushed where you like. And then similarly, we'll go through the top and out the back through the padding. And you'll do that all the way up and down your brow band. On things like the curves and the V's, you want to do more close together with your back and forth with your leather line, just to make sure you're keeping your beads exactly where you want them in the curves. So I won't bore you by going all the way up and down, but once you reach the end, you again just tie this leather line in a knot. Close to the base of the brow band so it doesn't go anywhere. Trim the ends, and you can tuck the extra right in between the padding and the ends so it's hidden. I always put a little super glue there at the top too, just to make sure it's extra safe and secure. With our fishing lines, obviously that was just practice, so it's he's still in there. To finish off our fishing lines, I like to do a couple knots where you go through twice. So 1, 2, and secure. And the same thing, you can clip off the ends, tuck it into the padding, finish it off with a little glue, and it'll remain hidden. So here's an example of a completely finished brow band. So I started with the fishing line, went back and forth with my leather line, and you can see, you can't even tell where I've put my knots or my my thread. So there you go.